Assassin's Creed Brotherhood accidentally created some of gaming's most unsettling mysteries that still disturb players 15 years later. Every blood message, every impossible prediction, every reality-breaking glitch suggested something horrifying about the true nature of the Animus and human consciousness. That's why today, I'm breaking down every unexplained mystery in Assassin's Creed and what they actually mean, starting with the man who predicted his own death. Subject 16's Blood Prophecies. Clay Kaczmarek painted 20 messages across Abstergo's laboratory in his own blood, and 12 years later, nobody can explain how he survived long enough to finish them, or how he knew things that hadn't happened yet. The official story makes sense at first. Clay was Subject 16 in Abstergo's Animus project, forced into extended sessions that drove him insane through the bleeding effect. On August 8, 2012, he slit his wrists with a ballpoint pen and used his blood to paint cryptic symbols across the walls. The messages included an inverted pentagram, the Borromean rings, Hebrew text reading "the world to come," and a barcode stamping 12/21/2012. Desmond discovered them in Assassin's Creed 2 using Eagle Vision. The puzzles unlocked the truth video showing Adam and Eve escaping Eden 75,000 years ago. But then you find messages that shouldn't exist. Clay wrote, "The son your son" in Brotherhood. That's a reference to Desmond's illegitimate child Elijah, whose existence wasn't revealed until Black Flag 3 years later. Clay also addressed Desmond by name in messages painted before Desmond was ever captured by Abstergo. He encoded the exact date of the second disaster months before it occurred. Here's what breaks the established lore. The database states Clay died from blood loss within minutes of cutting his wrists. Security footage confirms this timeline, but the 20 blood messages span multiple rooms across Abstergo's facility. The pyramid of letters near Desmond's Animus feet alone contains over 300 characters. The mathematical formulas on the bedroom wall include the complete Mandelbrot set equation. Medical experts have documented that Clay would have lost consciousness within 90 seconds of severing his radial artery. Players calculated the time required to write all 20 messages. Minimum estimate, assuming perfect conditions and no blood loss, 45 minutes. Clay had maybe 2 minutes of consciousness. And that's not even addressing the biggest problem. The messages contain information from the future. Juno mentions in Revelations that she showed Clay the calculations while he was trapped in the Animus. These calculations were alternate timelines, possible futures, probabilistic outcomes computed by Isu technology 75,000 years ago. Clay saw every possible version of Desmond's life simultaneously. That's why he went insane. He experienced infinite timelines where Desmond succeeded, failed, had children, died alone, saved the world, or destroyed it. The prophecies weren't predictions. They were descriptions of events that were already calculated before Clay was born. But if one man seeing the future seems impossible, wait until you learn about the video he left behind that shows memories nobody should be able to access. The Truth Video. Subject 16 left behind a video file labeled Session 12 that contains memories from 75,000 years before genetic memory should be possible, and the franchise has never explained how Clay accessed it or who his ancestor actually was. After solving all 20 glyph puzzles in Assassin's Creed 2, you unlock the truth. The file header reads, Subject 16, Session 12. Date classified BCE. The video shows two figures in translucent bodysuits free-running through massive Isu architecture. A factory window reveals hundreds of human slaves working a metal refinery under mind control. The woman clutches a glowing sphere and screams, "Adam, I have it," before they escape into African wilderness. Binary code flashes across the screen, translating to Eden. The entire sequence takes place approximately 75,000 years ago during the human rebellion against the Isu. But here's the fundamental problem. The Animus works through genetic memory. You can only relive experiences your ancestors actually had. Clay would need an unbroken genetic chain spanning 75,000 years and roughly 3,000 generations back to whoever was present during Adam and Eve's escape. The mathematical improbability is staggering. Most family trees become untraceable after 10 generations. Clay's bloodline would need perfect documentation across the entire span of human evolution. No genetic bottlenecks, no broken lineages, no adopted children or unknown parents across 3,000 consecutive generations. Human civilization itself is only about 12,000 years old. Clay accessed memories from before humans built permanent settlements. Then there's the perspective issue. The video shows Adam and Eve from a third-person view, implying Clay's ancestor was chasing them, not helping them, hunting them. The camera angle suggests his genetic line descends from an Isu guard who tried to prevent humanity's liberation. Clay relived the memory of his ancestor attempting to stop human freedom. The database offers zero explanation for how this memory exists in Clay's DNA. Vidic's emails mention anomalous temporal access, but provide no mechanism. The bleeding effect gives you your ancestors' skills and memories. It doesn't let you access the genetic memories of people who lived before Homo sapiens evolved. solved. The video proves the Animus can do something it scientifically shouldn't. Either genetic memory works completely differently than the games claim, or Clay accessed something that isn't memory at all. But if impossible memories from before human history seem disturbing, wait until you learn about the genetic trigger that can overwrite your entire personality with a dead Isu scientist, the Sage phenomenon. Any human can have their identity overwritten by a dead Isu scientist at any moment. And after 9 years, Ubisoft still hasn't explained how many people are walking around with this genetic time bomb in their DNA. The Sage system works like this. Juno manipulated human DNA thousands of years ago to create a hidden trigger that activates randomly across generations. When it triggers, the human's appearance changes to resemble Ada, an Isu scientist who was Juno's husband. Physical markers include heterochromia, different colored eyes, and anisocoria, different pupil sizes. The person receives Ada's complete memories and personality. They possess 5 to 6% Isu DNA compared to 0.0002% in normal humans. The franchise has documented at least 5 confirmed sages. Bartholomew Roberts in 1715, the pirate who obsessively sought the observatory. François Thomas Germain in 1789, the Templar Grand Master who orchestrated the French Revolution. John Standish in 2013, the Abstergo IT technician who tried to resurrect Juno. Jacques de Molay during the Templar Purge. Elijah, Desmond's son, revealed in the comics. But here's what makes this absolutely terrifying. Sages are born as normal humans with their own families, dreams, and identities. Then Ada's consciousness gradually emerges. Many sages don't even know what's happening to them. They experience memories of a woman they've never met but feel compelled to find. They develop skills they never learned. Their personality shifts without explanation. The transformation is irreversible. Bartholomew Roberts described it as remembering a life I never lived but know I experienced. By the time he captained the Royal Fortune, Roberts couldn't distinguish between his own memories and Ada's. He abandoned his original goals to serve Juno's agenda. His identity was essentially murdered from within by genetic programming implanted before humanity existed. John Standish's case proves the full horror. In Black Flag's modern-day sequences, Standish works as a normal IT employee. Then his sage memories activate. He poisons your coffee. He manipulates security systems. He attempts to weaken you enough for Juno to possess your body. When you kill him, his final words are, "I just wanted to be with her again." Not his wife, not his girlfriend, Juno. A digital ghost he'd never met but was genetically programmed to love. The Sage phenomenon means any child born anywhere could be a sleeper agent for a dead civilization. Their original self will be overwritten. Their choices will become Ada's choices, and there's zero warning until it happens. But at least sages know something external is overwriting them. Unlike the bleeding effect, which makes you think your ancestor's personality is actually yours. The bleeding effect. The bleeding effect is described as a side effect of Animus use that gives you your ancestor's skills, and that would be fine, except it doesn't give you skills. It replaces you with dead people. The official explanation sounds reasonable. Extended Animus exposure causes memories to bleed into waking life. You experience brief hallucinations under 30 seconds. You might see your ancestor's world overlaid on modern reality. Lucy Stillman established 30 seconds as the safety threshold before permanent damage occurs. The database describes it as involuntary skill acquisition, where users gain combat abilities, language fluency, and eagle vision from their ancestors. Sounds useful, sounds controllable, sounds like a beneficial glitch in the technology. But then you see what it actually does to people. The bleeding effect follows a specific progression that Abstergo documented across multiple subjects. Stage 1 is brief visual hallucinations. Stage 2 is extended visions with complete blackouts. Stage 3 is involuntary skill manifestation, where you perform actions you never learned. Stage 4 is identity confusion, where you can't distinguish yourself from your ancestors. Stage 5 is speaking in dead languages unconsciously. Stage 6 is complete mental breakdown with total inability to separate identities. Clay Kaczmarek reached Stage 6 after weeks of forced Animus sessions. Vidic's emails describe Clay screaming in languages he didn't speak. He wrote messages as Abraham Lincoln. He quoted Jean de La Fontaine in perfect French despite never studying the language. His final recordings show him unable to remember his own name, what year it was, or who he was. The database entry states he had too many overlapping identities to distinguish a primary consciousness. Daniel Cross proves the bleeding effect doesn't even need the Animus. Exposed to the technology as a child, Daniel experienced his ancestor Nikolai Orlov's memories spontaneously throughout his entire life. No machine required, the memories just happened. He relived Tunguska in 1908 while walking through Philadelphia in 2000. When Desmond killed him in Assassin's Creed III, Daniel was having a bleeding effect episode. He may not have known which identity was dying. Desmond describes the existential horror perfectly in Revelations. I can feel them in my head, Altair, Ezio, their memories, demonstrates their skills. If I can't stop these visions, it won't be long before I start painting symbols on the walls. The franchise never clarifies the distinction between gaining ancestral skills and being overwritten by ancestral personalities. When Desmond performs Ezio's combat moves, is Desmond acting, or is Ezio controlling him? Nobody knows. The games treat them as the same thing. But if losing yourself to your ancestors seems terrifying, wait until you learn about the white void where time stops and the dead speak impossible truths. The memory corridor. Every Assassin's Creed game features a white void where time freezes and dying targets confess impossible truths. And after 17 years, the franchise has never explained what this space actually is or how it exists. The memory corridor appears after every major assassination across the entire franchise. Time completely stops around you. The assassin and target enter a dimensionless white space with no walls, no floor, no physics. Extended dialogue occurs, sometimes lasting several minutes. The target reveals information they couldn't possibly share in their dying breath. Rodrigo Borgia philosophizes about power while bleeding out from a stab wound. Al-Mualim lectures Altair about free will with a sword through his chest. Haytham Kenway shares childhood memories with Connor as he dies. Then reality resumes with the target's death, and nobody around you noticed anything unusual. But then you realize the logical impossibilities stack too high. These assassinations happen in crowded public spaces. Altair kills Tamir in a busy marketplace in Damascus in front of dozens of witnesses. Ezio stabs Vieri de Pazzi on a siege tower surrounded by guards. Connor kills William Johnson at a peace conference with hundreds of attendees. Nobody ever comments on the extended conversations happening over corpses. The conversations are too long for final words. Charles Lee speaks coherent sentences for over 2 minutes with a fatal gunshot wound. Jubair al-Hakim delivers a philosophical treatise about knowledge while dying. Robert de Sablé confesses the Templar conspiracy in complete detail despite having seconds to live. Medical reality says these people should be unconscious or incoherent from shock and blood loss. Then there's the information problem. Targets reveal deeply personal truths they have zero motivation to share. They confess plans, name co-conspirators, explain their entire ideology to the person who just killed them. Some express regret, some thank their killer. William Johnson admits he manipulated both sides of the conflict. Haytham reveals Juno's manipulation. These aren't dying words. These are confessional monologues from people who somehow gained perfect clarity and honesty the instant they were fatally wounded. The franchise offers 3 inadequate explanations. The animus interpretation theory suggests the simulation creates this space during high synchronization moments to help Desmond understand his ancestors' targets. But this doesn't explain why the memory corridor appears in Origins and Odyssey, which use completely different animus technology and have no modern-day protagonist. The Eagle Sense theory suggests high Isu DNA allows glimpses of knowledge, the Isu's 6th sense that perceives truth. But this doesn't explain why targets also enter the space and participate. The Piece of Eden theory suggests the artifacts can slow time, but assassins don't use them during these sequences. The memory corridor suggests a literal dimensional space between life and death that consciousness enters during fatal trauma. If dying minds genuinely access this limbo, the animus isn't just replaying memories, it's accessing the afterlife. But if a white void between life and death seems impossible, wait until you learn about the Isu device that uses blood to see through living eyes in real time. The Observatory. The Observatory in Assassin's Creed 4 uses blood samples to watch anyone in the world in real time. And 10 years later, nobody can explain how it actually works or why it inverts everything we know about genetic memory. Edward Kenway discovers the observatory in Sequence 10 at Long Bay, Jamaica in 1722. The facility is buried deep in the jungle, powered by a single crystal skull housed inside a massive armillary sphere. The mechanism is simple. Insert a blood vial into the skull. The device projects real-time audio and visual feeds of whatever that person currently sees and hears. Thousands of blood vials line the observatory's corridors, suggesting the Isu monitored thousands of humans simultaneously. The viewing chamber contains rows of stone seats designed for mass surveillance operations. Bartholomew Roberts demonstrates it by showing Edward exactly what Governor Lawrence Torres is doing at that exact moment, miles away. But then you realize this technology shouldn't be possible even by Isu standards. The Animus works because DNA contains genetic memories of the past. The observatory somehow uses DNA to view the present. That's a complete inversion of how genetic memory functions. Blood is a static record of ancestry. It doesn't update in real time. It doesn't transmit sensory data from living people. Yet the observatory does exactly that with perfect clarity across unlimited distances. The database describes it as a communications device. Great, but communications devices don't work like this. The observatory doesn't transmit signals. It doesn't receive signals. It doesn't need line of sight or satellites or relay stations. Drop a single drop of blood blood into the skull, and it tracks that person forever through walls, underground, on ships in the middle of the ocean until they die. The moment they die, the feed goes dark. Living blood only. Here's what the franchise won't explain. How does blood enable remote viewing? The crystal skull processes genetic information somehow, but the mechanism is never described. No Isu Codex entries explain it. No database files clarify it. Roberts just says, Isu magic, and the game moves on. This is technology that operates on principles that contradict the series' own established rules about DNA and memory. Players discovered the observatory's true purpose through environmental storytelling. The facility wasn't built for Assassin or Templar conflicts. It was built thousands of years ago when the Aisu enslaved humanity. Aita, the Aisu scientist whose consciousness now hijacks sages, created this surveillance system. He was later banished from Atlantis for illegal genetic experimentation on humans, revealed in Odyssey's Fate of Atlantis DLC. The observatory was how the ISU monitored their slave population. Every human working the forges, every human in the fields, watched constantly through blood-based remote viewing. The technology still functions perfectly 80,000 years later, and Abstergo spent decades hunting those blood vials. But if blood-based surveillance that shouldn't be possible seems disturbing, wait until you learn about the woman whose eagle vision glow proved she was innocent right before the retcon said she'd been evil all along. Lucy Stillman's eagle vision. Lucy Stillman glowed blue in eagle vision throughout 3 games, marking her as a trusted ally. And that single color choice creates the franchise's biggest lore contradiction, because she was secretly a Templar the entire time. The established rule is simple and consistent. Eagle vision reveals truth. It's an inherited Isu sense that shows people's true nature, not the user's perception. Allies glow blue, enemies glow red, targets glow gold. This works perfectly throughout Assassin's Creed Your Fortnite. Al-Mualim appears blue until the final sequence, when his betrayal is revealed, then he glows red. Guards always glow red, civilians always glow white. The color doesn't lie. Throughout AC1, AC2, and Brotherhood, Lucy Stillman appears blue every single time Desmond activates Eagle Vision. She guides him through Abstergo. She rescues him from the facility. She trains him at the assassin hideout. Blue, always blue. But then, Brotherhood's ending forces Desmond to stab Lucy with his hidden blade under Juno's control. She dies in Sequence 9 on October 10th, 2012 in the Colosseum Vault. The Lost Archive DLC for Revelations, released in 2011, reveals Lucy was a Templar double agent working for Vidic. She'd allegedly defected years before meeting Desmond. Her mission was to gain assassin trust, locate the apple, and deliver it to Abstergo. Clay discovered this through the Animus and left messages warning Desmond. Juno forced Desmond to kill Lucy to prevent her from stealing the apple. Here's the problem that breaks everything. If Lucy was always a Templar, she should have glowed red in Eagle Vision from the beginning. The ability reveals truth, not belief. Al-Mualim proved this. He appeared blue until his true allegiance was exposed, then the color changed to reflect reality. Lucy never changed colors. She remained blue even in Brotherhood, literally hours before Juno revealed her betrayal. Either Eagle Vision doesn't actually reveal truth and the franchise lied about its core mechanic for 3 games, or Lucy's allegiance was changed retroactively by writers who needed to justify killing her off. The behind-the-scenes context makes it worse. Former creative director Patrice Desilets stated in interviews that Lucy was killed because voice actress Kristen Bell requested royalties for future appearances. Bell was reportedly unaware her character was being killed until after recording Brotherhood. The Lost Archive DLC contained 0 new Kristen Bell voice lines, only Clay's narration describing her betrayal. The developers wrote a posthumous explanation for a death that was a production decision, not a narrative one. The Lucy contradiction destroys Eagle Vision as a reliable gameplay mechanic. If the franchise's truth-seeing ability can be wrong about someone for 3 entire games, nothing in the Animus can be trusted. But if one retconned betrayal seems bad, wait until you learn about the Aisu who knew Desmond's name 75,000 years before his birth. Minerva's prophecy. Minerva spoke Desmond's name in 1499, 75,000 years after her death, and the franchise has never explained how she calculated his exact identity before humans even existed. The Vatican Vault scene happens on December 28, 1499, in Assassin's Creed 2's finale. Ezio uses the apple and staff to unlock a hidden chamber beneath the Sistine Chapel. A holographic projection of Minerva appears, towering above him in golden light. Ezio tries to speak to her. She interrupts him. "I am not speaking to you, Ezio. Ezio. I am speaking to him, the one who would watch. Desmond. She then delivers a detailed warning about a solar flare scheduled to hit Earth on December 21st, 2012. Exactly 513 years in the future, she tells Desmond to find the Grand Temple and provides its location. The entire message was recorded before Rome existed. But here's the impossible part. Minerva died approximately 75,000 years before Desmond Miles was born. She recorded this hologram specifically for a moment when Ezio would enter the Vatican vault, and Desmond would be viewing that exact memory through an animus. She calculated Desmond's birth, his capture by Abstergo, his escape with Lucy, his use of the Animus 2.0, and the precise sequence where Ezio would access this vault. The level of precision required is staggering. Minerva needed to predict Desmond's parents' meeting, his father's decision to leave the Assassin Order, Desmond running away at 16, his capture in September 2012, the exact genetic memories he would explore, the technological development of the Animus itself, and his name. She knew his name would be Desmond Miles 75,000 years before the Miles family existed. Jupiter explains the mechanism in Revelations. I am not used to the calculations. That has always been Minerva's domain. The Isu possessed a device called the Eye that allowed them to manipulate probability and view possible future timelines. Minerva could see infinite versions of the future and calculate which ones would occur based on initial conditions. But viewing possibilities is different from knowing certainties. She didn't say, someone named Desmond might watch this. She said, Desmond with absolute confidence. The calculation required accounting for every variable in human history: wars, plagues, technological developments, individual choices across 3,000 generations. One person making a different choice anywhere in that 75,000-year span could have prevented Desmond from existing. The butterfly effect should make this prediction impossible even for Isu technology. Here's what this actually means. If Minerva calculated Desmond's entire existence, free will doesn't exist in the Assassin's Creed universe. Desmond didn't choose to become an assassin. He was calculated into existence for a specific purpose determined before humans evolved. His sacrifice at the Grand Temple wasn't heroic, it was predetermined. The franchise treats this as proof of Isu technological superiority, but it's actually proof that every human in the AC universe is following a script written before they were born. But if one predetermined hero seems disturbing, wait until you see what happens when the entire video ends and you realize these 12 mysteries connect to something far bigger than any of them alone. If you enjoyed this video and want to see Assassin's Creed Deadliest Assassins explained, click the video on screen now.